For decades, Israel and Iran have waged a shadow war, a silent battle fought in the shadows, away from the glare of conventional warfare. This conflict, simmering beneath the surface of regional politics, has shaped the Middle East in profound ways. It's been a war of proxies where the Islamic nation supports and arms non-state actors to fight its battles. A war of cyber attacks, disrupting infrastructure and stealing vital information. And a war of covert ops, assassinations, sabotage and espionage, a constant game of cat and mouse. This relentless shadow war has been a major factor fueling Middle Eastern instability, exacerbating existing tensions and creating new fault lines across the region. The consequences have been devastating, impacting countless lives and hindering any prospect of lasting peace. Israel sees Iran's nuclear ambitions and its unwavering support for groups like Hezbollah and Hamas, organizations committed to Israel's destruction, as existential threats to its very survival. They view a nuclear-armed Iran as an unacceptable risk. These threats are not just political or strategic, they strike at the heart of Israel's sense of security and its place in the world. The Israeli government has repeatedly stated that it will do whatever it takes to prevent Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Iran, on the other hand, views Israel as an illegitimate, Western-backed adversary, an occupying force in Palestinian territories, and a major obstacle blocking its regional goals and aspirations for greater influence in the Middle East. This deep-seated mutual distrust, fueled by decades of animosity and conflicting interests, set the stage for a dramatic escalation, a point of no return that would shatter the fragile peace and plunge the region into open conflict. On June 13, 2025, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a bold and calculated move that would forever alter the landscape of the Middle East. It was a massive, coordinated airstrike campaign across Iran, targeting key strategic assets and infrastructure in a swift and decisive blow. The operation was meticulously planned and executed with precision. The primary goal was clear: to cripple Iran's nuclear and missile programs, effectively setting back its military capabilities and preventing it from developing weapons of mass destruction. But the operation went further, aiming to decapitate its military leadership, eliminating key figures responsible for Iran's regional activities and its support for proxy groups. Key nuclear sites like Natanz, a critical uranium enrichment facility, were among the primary targets, suffering significant damage in the initial wave of attacks. And top commanders, including IRGC Chief Hossein Salami, a powerful figure in the Iranian regime, were targeted and killed, sending shockwaves through the country's leadership. It was a clear message, a show of force intended to demonstrate that Israel would not tolerate a nuclear Iran, regardless of international pressure or diplomatic promises. The shadow war, after years of simmering tensions and covert operations, had finally erupted into open conflict, with the world watching in stunned silence as the Middle East teeters on the brink of all-out war. The conflict exploded with a sudden and terrifying intensity. Years of simmering tensions finally reached a boiling point, unleashing a wave of destruction that threatens to engulf the entire region. The initial strikes were swift and decisive, setting the stage for a rapid and dangerous escalation. It all began on June 13, 2025, a date that would forever be etched in the annals of history as the day the world held its breath. News headlines blared across screens worldwide, signaling the start of a new and perilous chapter. Israel's airstrikes devastated key strategic locations, targeting Iranian military and nuclear sites with pinpoint accuracy. The strikes aimed to cripple Iran's ability to retaliate, but they only served to further inflame the already volatile situation. Iran retaliated swiftly that very night, launching a staggering barrage of over 150 missiles and 100 drones directly at Israel. It was an unprecedented direct assault, a clear declaration of war that shattered any remaining hopes for a peaceful resolution. Israel's sophisticated air defenses valiantly intercepted the vast majority of incoming projectiles, but a number of missiles managed to penetrate the defenses, striking cities and towns across the country. The impact was devastating, causing casualties, widespread damage, and mass panic among the civilian population. Over the next 3 days, both sides engaged in a dangerous dance of escalation. Israel retaliated by hitting Iranian economic targets, crippling their infrastructure and vital resources. In response, Iran intensified its missile barrages, relentlessly pounding Israeli territory with rocket fire. As the conflict spirals out of control, civilian evacuations have begun in both countries, with millions fleeing their homes in search of safety. The fighting spreads like wildfire, engulfing more and more regions and drawing in other actors. In a brazen act of defiance, Israel even struck Iran's state TV headquarters during a live broadcast, sending a chilling message to the Iranian regime. It was a symbolic blow, a calculated move to disrupt Iran's propaganda machine and undermine its authority. Each attack fuels the next in a relentless cycle of retaliation, pushing the region closer to the abyss. Neither side shows any signs of backing down, their resolve hardened by years of animosity and mistrust. The entire region teeters precariously on the edge of all-out war, with the potential for catastrophic consequences. So far, the war already left a heavy toll. In Iran, hundreds were killed, including military leaders and civilians, as strikes hit cities and infrastructure. Emergency services struggled amid chaos and destruction. In Israel, missile impacts killed many civilians, shattering the sense of security in cities like Tel Aviv. Israel's strikes crippled Iran's nuclear facilities and energy sector, deepening its economic crisis. Iran's attacks damaged Israeli homes, businesses, even hospitals, forcing a costly recovery. Both economies suffered, Iran's industry in ruins, Israel facing military expenses and disruption. The war's scars, human and economic, will last long after the fighting stops. Israel achieved key objectives, crippling Iran's nuclear program and eliminating top commanders. Netanyahu's government rallied domestic support, projecting strength and deterrence. Israel's strikes aimed to weaken Iran's regime, hoping for internal unrest. But Iran proves its capability, striking Israeli cities and exposing vulnerabilities in Israel's defenses. Both sides suffer. Israel lost lives and the feeling that nothing can touch them. Iran lost leaders, infrastructure, and stability. The conflict is costly, with no clear winner, only devastation and a new, dangerous balance. Israel may have gained the upper hand, but Iran showed it's a formidable adversary. Leaders on both sides struck defiant tones. Netanyahu vowed to eliminate Iran's threat, framing the war as existential. Iran's leaders, reeling from losses, called for resistance and framed the conflict as defense against aggression. Iran signaled willingness to negotiate if Israel stopped attacks, but trust was already shattered. For civilians, life became fear and uncertainty. Air raid sirens, bomb shelters, and anxiety in Israel, terror and displacement in Iran. Both societies endure trauma with hopes for peace fading. Nationalist fervor rose, but so did exhaustion and grief. The war deepened suffering, leaving citizens desperate for normalcy. Analysts see several perilous paths ahead. The risk of regional war looms, with potential involvement from proxies and global powers. Some hope for a ceasefire, as both sides may see the costs as too high to continue. Back-channel diplomacy could halt attacks, but trust is low. Israel's regime change ambitions may backfire, uniting Iranians against foreign aggression. A new status quo could emerge, open, periodic conflict replacing the old shadow war. Both nations would face constant threat, fueling instability across the region. The Middle East stands at a crossroads, one spark away from disaster. Looking ahead, the most probable scenario isn't one of lasting tranquility, but rather a tense and fragile, informal ceasefire. It's a pause in the storm, a temporary reprieve from the immediate threat of widespread conflict. This isn't peace, not by a long shot. It's merely a cessation of active hostilities, a moment to catch breath before the next inevitable clash. The underlying issues remain unresolved, simmering beneath the surface. Both sides, driven by their own strategic imperatives, will use this lull to regroup their forces, reassess their positions, and learn from the experiences of the recent conflict. They will rearm their arsenals, replenish their supplies, and prepare their military personnel for future clashes that seem all but unavoidable. The cycle of conflict continues, albeit at a lower intensity for now. Israel in the aftermath will undoubtedly claim victory, pointing to its military achievements and the perceived weakening of its adversary. They will emphasize the setbacks inflicted on Iran's nuclear ambitions, highlighting the damage to key facilities and the disruption of their program. Furthermore, Israel will seek to bolster its deterrence capabilities, showcasing its advanced weapons systems and defensive infrastructure to discourage future aggression. Iran, while wounded and facing significant challenges, will remain defiant, refusing to concede defeat or abandon its long-term objectives. The focus will shift towards rebuilding damaged infrastructure, strengthening its military capabilities, and crucially, seeking revenge for the perceived injustices suffered. While international pressure, exerted through diplomatic channels and economic sanctions, may force a temporary halt to open hostilities, the underlying tensions will persist. The overt warfare might subside, but the shadow war, fought through covert operations and proxy conflicts, is far from over. The rules have changed. Direct conflict, once a last resort, is now a more readily accepted norm in the region's strategic calculus. The Middle East is entering a prolonged Cold War, characterized by intense rivalry, proxy conflicts, and a constant threat of escalation. This new era will be marked by periodic outbreaks of violence, a pervasive atmosphere of deep mistrust, and a constant struggle for regional dominance. The prospect of lasting peace, a distant dream for so long, appears even more elusive and unattainable than ever before. The international community must brace itself for a new era of heightened volatility and instability in the Middle East, a region teetering on the brink of further conflict. If you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who want to stay informed. Your engagement helps us bring you more in-depth analysis and timely updates on critical events shaping our world. Thank you for watching.